Hello, everyone. Welcome to Everything Arsenal. A lot of news to get through today. Some news on David Raya, Tomiyasu Kiwior, and also Ben White update at the end. Let me know what you make about all this news in the comment section, and let's get to it. Let's start with David Raya. Now, obviously, we are playing against Brentford this weekend. Ramsdale will start because Brentford, we've not yet signed David Raya from Brentford, but it looks like we are about to do it. By sometime next year. So according to Fabrizio Romano, understand Arsenal have decided to seal David Raya deal in 2024. It's all guaranteed as buy option clause will be triggered for £27 million. Raya already signed potential long-term contract as Arsenal player for June 2024. All done. Brentford accepted this structure due to FFP. So looks like David Raya will be a permanent Arsenal player next year. I usually don't like loan deals. I've always been a non-fan of loan deals because, one, obviously, you fall in love with the loan player and then they end up leaving and you're in trouble. I remember when Ceballos came the first time, he helped us win the FA Cup and then he was gone. And then I remember that transfer window. People are like, oh my goodness, we need to bring back Ceballos. Obviously, he came back. He didn't really live up to what we were expecting him to. Odegaard came as well for a year and then left as well. I usually don't like loan deals because you end up loving the player, or two, the player cannot play against certain teams or he's already played for a different team in this competition and he can't play for you as well. I usually just don't like it. But David Raya is a very good goalkeeper. Now, obviously, this might spell the end of Ramsdale. Hopefully, we are able to keep both of them until the end of the season, and then after that, we might have to say goodbye to Ramsdale. Now, for me, from the beginning, I've always been a fan of Ramsdale. I've always said, listen, I want them to rotate. I love both goalkeepers. Raya is a good goalkeeper. I've always loved Ramsdale. I believe like he's before everything, like he was in the top three goalkeepers in the Premier League and all that. But it's looking like Matsa's made his decision, so we have to roll with it. And let's hope that David Raya's performances are very, very good, like Ramsdale was the last 2 years, because we really need it. And as of this season, we still need both of them. We still have the FA Cup coming up. We still have like a game this weekend against Brentford, a game that will need Ramsdale to perform in. He will play in that game. Maybe even in the Champions League after that, I'm sure he will play the PSV game if we get the win against Lens. I'm sure Ramsdale will play the PSV game away from home. So there is a lot of games there to be played. FA Cup is about to start in January, so both of them will be used. So hopefully we are able to keep Ramsdale. It will be tough because the Euros are coming up and Ramsdale would want to play in the Euros, and David Raya would want to come play in the Euros as well. So it'd be very difficult to have both of them unless like he's guaranteed to rotate both of them, which I can't imagine will be happening. David Raya is playing in the Champions League, he's playing in the Premier League. We're already out of the Carabao Cup, so there's not too many games to play in the other cup competitions, only the FA Cup. And you never know the FA Cup. You might start the FA Cup today. You can promise a goalkeeper, listen, you're going to play all the FA Cup games. But what happens if you get eliminated in the first round? It's not good at all. But according to Fabrizio, David Raya will be signing a permanent deal. I've always been worried about that. I've always been like, okay, we can't really kick out Ramsdale because David Raya is not yet our goalkeeper. So what happens if both of them end up leaving? We'll have to look for another goalkeeper. I don't think so. So what it's looking like unless Ramsdale plays against Brentford and plays out of his out of this world, and then he plays in a Champions League game and makes like 5 world-class saves, and everyone is like, no, play this guy. Maybe Raya makes a couple of mistakes. I can't see it happening. I think Raya will be our first choice goalkeeper, and I think by next year we'll get someone to help out David Raya, and Ramsdale will be leaving, unfortunately. So that's what I'm expecting. But let's hope Ramsdale does well this weekend, and let's hope Raya does well for the rest of the season as well. And let's hope both of them are in the Euro squad for Spain and also England. 27 million, I don't think that's a bad deal, considering did Chelsea pay for Sanchez around 25 million or something like that? So David Raya for 27 million, he made the most saves last season in the Premier League. I don't think that's a big deal. Onana was bought for like 50 million by Man United. Alisson, very, very good goalkeeper, is bought for like 70 back in the day. Kepa was like 75 or something. Goalkeepers are very expensive. Even if you take a look at Ederson, even Bravo at Man City before he left, all of them are signed by for a lot of money. Even Ramsdale first was around 30 million. So getting a goalkeeper these days for 27 million, who's very good in terms of kicking and all that, and he's already proved himself in the Premier League, I think that's a good deal. in an ideal world, I'd love to keep both of them for a lot of years, rotate all of them in all those competitions. We'll have more games in the Champions League this season if we make it there. We're hoping to be competing for the Premier League, for a few years, not just one season or 2 seasons, and then compete for the other competitions as well. You probably will need two good goalkeepers. But it's not going to work that way. It never works out that way. It's very difficult to have two good goalkeepers in the same team. We saw it with Courtois. Check one season it was done. Check had to move on to Arsenal, and in other teams as well. Mendy and Kep, I think it was only one season. One of them had to move on. That's just how it goes, man. That's just how it goes. So that's a little on David Raya. Latest on him. Let me know what you make of this news. Next up, Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu is linked to the move away, but luckily we have some news. He has been linked to the move to Bayern Munich. The moment I heard that, I was like, no. Tomiyasu is not for sale. Now, I made something very, very clear at the beginning of the season, or in the transfer window around June, July. I say this: Tomiyasu has been injured a lot. I do agree with that. I still do believe he's a very, very good player. He's now going into his third season at Arsenal, which is this season that we're currently in. And I said one thing. Now, he's proved himself in terms of when he's playing, but too many injuries. I think he had missed more games than what he had played. So I said, this season, if we start this season and the first 5 months before January, and even January included as well, Tomiyasu has been injured for 80% of it, and he's only played like 3 games, then you might have to consider selling him. And if he's not played every single game at all, then you might have to sell him. You definitely might have to sell him by January, or maybe give him the last season. But I also said, I'm going to give him this third season, if he stays fit and because I know he will perform, I'm going to keep him for sure. Well, he's managed to stay fit, touch wood, and he's managed to put in some incredible performances for us. His performance against Sevilla away from home was absolutely incredible. He came on against Man City. He obviously assisted in that. He didn't assist, but he contributed to that goal against Man City that day. And I love the rotation with him and Zinchenko and Ben White. And Ben White is currently injured. We'll talk about him at the end. So Tomiyasu will be needed at right back. And it's not too many players in the Premier League that you can actually depend on to come on in every single position. We're in a very lucky position now. Timber is injured. We should have had 7 defenders. Obviously, Tini was there as well. I was thinking we were going to have 8 defenders. But as of now, we have Gabriel, Saliba, Kiwior, Ben White, Zinchenko, Tomiyasu. Cedric doesn't really play, so we have 6 defenders. And luckily for us, we don't just have 2 left backs who can't play any other position, or a center back who cannot play on the right side or on the full back positions. No, we have a player like Tomiyasu who can come on for Gabriel. He can come on for Zinchenko. He can come on for Ben White. He can start the game and perform. Ben White can start there. Kiwior can start at left back. A lot of different things, and that's a very, very good position to be. If you even go back a few years before, I don't think Bellerin would have played for us at left back. I don't think I would have loved to see Socrates at right back 3-4 games in a row. I don't think I would love to see that at all. So the position that we are right now, having these defenders who can play numerous positions. And if you look at the other teams, I don't think Shaw can start at right back for Man United. He can play centre back sometimes. I don't think they can play Varane at left back. I don't think they can. I don't think Chelsea can go and play Thiago Silva at right back. I don't think. Or let's focus on the full backs. I don't think they can play Chilwell at right back, for example. He puts up a man of the match performance that it's very, very rare. So the fact that we only have 6 defenders, it's very good to have most of them very versatile. And Tomiyasu is one of them, and he's really proved himself. So Arteta agrees with that, and Edu agrees with that. So the latest news on Tomiyasu from Sami Mokbel: Arsenal prepared to open talks with Takehiro Tomiyasu over contract extension just months after he featured on a list of players the club were open to selling. And also, according to the Telegraph, Mike of the Telegraph, he says Arsenal want to secure a fresh deal for Takehiro Tomiyasu. The player, who has admirers at Bayern Munich, has 18 months plus 1-year option left on his contract, so a bit of time still remaining. But Arsenal are preparing to negotiate an extension to tie him to the club long term. And he also goes on to say on the article, actually the article started versatile. That's just what I've been talking about. Versatile defenders returned from injury to be a key component of Mikel Arteta's squad this season. I don't think we win that game against Man City without Tomiyasu making that run. Small things like that, Sevilla way. We have just be comfortable. You can say Zinchenko can play this game, and then when you have a tough game that we need to defend, we can just simply bring in Tomiyasu. So everyone has their job, so it's good to have that. Arsenal want to secure a fresh deal for Japan international Takehiro Tomiyasu following his stunning form this season. The 25-year-old, who is in his third season at the Emirates Stadium, has 18 months left on his contract. Tomiyasu has admirers at Bayern Munich, where he's believed to be on a list of possible targets when Thomas Tuchel looks to add a defender to his squad in the coming windows. Mikel Arteta has used Tomiyasu's versatility this season, playing him across his back four, including games in both fullback positions and at centre back. His performances in October saw him voted Arsenal's Player of the Month. Is that as well? He was really, really good in October, and I think he's been very good like across the whole season. To be honest, he's been very, very good. I don't think there's a game I've watched this season and I've been like, no, Tomiyasu's been terrible. This game, sub him out, is costing us or anything like that. No, like you never get to say things like that about players like Saliba and Tomiyasu. Like he's very good. The worst performance he can put up is a 7 out of 10. So that is a very, very good position to be in. He also goes on to say Mikel Arteta has used Tomiyasu's versatility this season, playing him across his back four, including I've read that already. His performances in October saw him voted Arsenal's Player of the Month. Tomiyasu's return to the team has marked his recovery from a knee injury that ruled him out for the final part of last season. He needed surgery after the injury in March against Sporting Lisbon, but returned to action in August, initially with substitute appearances. And those particular games that he missed, the last 2 seasons at the end of both campaigns, I'm sure if Tomiyasu was there at the end of the time you're fighting for Champions League football with Tottenham, would have gotten it. And if he was fit for this for last season as well, when you're fighting for the tournament, for the Premier League title, if him and Saliba stayed fit, I'm sure we wouldn't have been conceding those goals. 3 goals against Southampton, 3 goals against Brighton, 2 goals against Liverpool. We lost at Nottingham. We conceded 2 at West Ham. Those were too many goals to be conceding. And I'm sure if Tomiyasu was there, would have done absolutely great, and we might have actually ended up winning that title just if we had Tomiyasu. So he also goes on to say something about us signing him dramatically when you signed him and all that, but very, very good influence in the team. I think we need him, and it doesn't seem like the player who will complain about being on the bench for a few games. He understands his role, just like El Neni. He has more game time than El Neni, but he knows, like, this is my game. When you're playing at home and you expect to dominate possession and all that, he knows that is not his game. Let's play Zinchenko. But we'll talk about Ben White next, and it seems like Tomiyasu will get a run of games, and we'll definitely miss him. I think January is going for the Asian Cup, so he'll definitely miss him. Kiwior. We've just talked about Kiwior as well. Amongst the 6 defenders we've talked about, there's also latest news on him. And for him, we've not had anything about a contract yet, but according to Santi, AC Milan, Roma, and Napoli all want Jakub Kiwior. All parties want a loan with option to buy this January. However, Arsenal believe in the Poland international and want to keep him. I mean, I do agree as well. Not only because we cannot afford to lose any defenders at all. If Timber was fit, it would have been nice. Like, we'd have had another player who can play multiple positions. But let's also remember, there's a lot of fixtures coming up for the rest of November, and in December, especially January, FA Cup gets started. There's too many fixtures, and you need all of these players. We know Tomiyasu is going for the Asian Cup. We are happy that he's staying fit at the moment, but I still don't want him to play every single game because he's been injury prone the last 2 seasons. There's Zinchenko as well. He's picked up a couple of injuries here and there. I don't want him to play every single game. There's a time that we might need to rest Saliba. Gabriel's rested a lot at the beginning of the season, but there's a time we might have to rest most of them. Maybe not in the same game, but different games. So you need players like Kiwior. And I'm not going to mention any defenders in the past, but whenever Kiwior has played, I've never felt like, oh my goodness, Kiwior is playing instead of Gabriel. This is terrible, man. He's going to make a mistake. I mean, I wanted Gabriel to start at the beginning of the season, obviously, but I'm saying, like, whenever Kiwior comes on, like against Brentford in the Carabao Cup, I've never really felt like he's a bad defender. He plays really well. He can play at left back. He played a couple of games and played very well as an inverted fullback, and he's not been like literally thrown away completely on the bench. No, he started a few Premier League games. He started the Carabao Cup games. He features. He comes on whenever we need to defend at the end. And for Poland, he usually puts up man of the match performances every single time he plays for Poland. So he's very good on the ball. So another defender I think we need to keep, especially in January. We cannot let him go in January. It's not very easy to get players who are versatile like this for that cheap. At the end of the season, if he's not lived up to the stage that you want him to be at, obviously he's been here since January. That will be like 18 months to see how he does. I still wouldn't really sell him. Maybe that time, if you have other defenders in mind and Timber is back, then maybe at that time you can let him go on loan or something. But January, definitely not. I don't want us to be scrambling to sign defenders in January. That's not what I want. I want us to look for midfielder and forward players. So I think defenders and goalkeeper, we are okay for now until maybe at the end of the season. Then we can look at those positions. I don't want us to go into January looking for defenders, looking for a fullback because Kiwior is leaving, looking for another fullback because Tomiyasu is going for the Asian Cup or being transferred out, and then looking for another midfielder because Partey is injured and is going for AFCON as well, or looking for another striker because most Arsenal fans want a striker and Jesus has been injured here and there, and Ketty has also picked up an injury. We don't want to be in that position. So I think defensively, okay, if Timber comes back, we have 7 solid defenders, and I think Kiwior is very good at that. I would not let him go as well. At this particular moment, those defenders, I wouldn't let any of them go, to be honest. And lastly, Ben White, not any transfers or anything like that, but Ben White is being assessed ahead of the game against Brentford after a muscle issue. Obviously, he missed the game against Burnley. Now, Ben White doesn't miss games. I think this is the first time, like, since he signed for Arsenal, like, he's missed a Premier League game through injury. That is how much you can depend on him. And even when he played for Leeds, when he played for Brighton, he was always available. But recently, he's picked up an injury. Maybe it could be because of the volume of games. But luckily for us, he doesn't really play international football. If he was picked for like the last 3 international tournaments, then would have had a bit of trouble with this the number of games he's playing in his minutes. But at least he's rested for the 2 weeks. If he's not 100%, play Tomiyasu, play Zinchenko at left back. I wanted Tomiyasu and Ben White as the fullbacks. I've already done my preview for that, and I gave my reasons for that. Against Brentford, very good from set pieces. You want these tall players and players who can head the ball out and everything like that. But if he's not available, if he's not 100% fit, just start Tomiyasu. There's a lot of games coming up. We will need Ben White to clinch our Champions League knockout spot. We'll have games against Aston Villa coming up, against Wolves. December, you're going to have Brighton, Liverpool, a lot of tough games coming up, and you need Ben White for those games. So if you're not 100% fit, I would still back us to win, even if you have Zinchenko and Tomiyasu at fullback, very good players. And as long as Gabriel and Saliba is there as well, and I know you're going to change Raya to Ramsdale this weekend as well, I'm not really concerned about that. Like Ramsdale, Zinchenko, Gabriel, Saliba, Tomiyasu, I still fancy us to win and maybe even keep a clean sheet. I still think all of those players are very good. So that's the latest. A lot to uncover today. Ben White and Kiwior's transfer news, Tomiyasu's new contract very soon, hopefully, and David Raya as well. So let me know what you make about all that. Make sure to follow on social media. Glenn Kitely for the personal one, and then every other link will be in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you on the next one.